Hi, I'm here to talk to you about GMOs, genetically modified organisms. These are seeds that have been genetically altered so that they would be more more herbicide tolerant or insect resistant. So HT is the herbicide tolerant and BT is the insect resistant. Um, the main crops that started this off were soybean, cotton, and corn. I know that they've done things with wheat, potatoes. I think they're doing something now with eggplant and papaya. There are many other plants that are being modified so that the underdeveloped countries that are having crop problems, failures, not able to feed their populace, this is what companies like Monsanto have indicated why they started developing these to basically end world hunger. Basically, I think that this is a good idea into trying to end world hunger and be able to feed everybody. However, I don't think all of their intentions are to do that. There is a indication that they're just doing it to line their pockets and get their shareholders big dividends. They have modified their seeds so that it would only grow the first time through and not be able to proliferate, reproduce the um, seed again or viable seed that can grow. So there have been questions raised. Um, this is a chart of from 1996 to 2014, and you can see how fast those levels rose with those plants. And there are just too many questions out there that still need to be answered to, I think, our satisfaction. With health concerns for humans, basically they're indicating that there are no studies indicating that these crops would be harmful to humans in any way, but I beg to differ. I think that more research needs to be done. There's not enough out there that is really being done to prove that these are really that safe and in the long term for us or the earth. There have been studies done in Russia, in China, in other countries that basically have indicated that there could be possible problems, and most of the time these are getting kind of swept under the rug a little bit, I think, and not really looked into as closely as I think they should. Now, there's a picture here of stomach lining and intestine lining for rats that had been fed GMO potatoes, and there's proliferated cell growth, which potentially could be cancerous. Not that it 100% says it will be, but there's a potential. There's a reasonable doubt. Just like in anything else, if you've got some reasonable doubt, then you really need to look into it more. Now, there haven't been any, there haven't not that there hasn't been, but there's not any regulation saying that you have to do human trial studies on this. Generally, there's evaluations for drugs and anything else that we take, but this has kind of skipped under that, I guess, a little bit. There's been one study that the responsibletechnology.org website had indicated that had been done on human trial, where genetically modified soy had been given to people, and that there was genetically transferred organism cells into humans, into their intestines. Now, it's indicating that these could possibly still be reproducing in the body even after they stop eating the GMO foods. Now, again, this raises some questions. Is there going to be potential issues later on? Now, I've noticed myself, with the rise in food allergies, my kids started having friends come home that couldn't eat peanuts or peanut butter on wide scales, coconut, gluten foods, things like that, that I don't really remember hearing a lot about that when I was a kid. And my parents watched the news a lot, so I heard a lot of the stuff because they always had it on. So there wasn't anything out there I don't think before the 1990s that really indicated that there was a widespread amount of issues with food allergies. And I think that possibly GMOs have something to do with that. I can't 100% say for sure, but it does raise the question. Not to mention, with these plants that are herbicide resistant, there is a potential for super weeds. There's been a growth in super weeds because plants do share genetic material between themselves in the soils and everything else. Weeds can possibly get those genetically modified cells to indicate that they're immune to the herbicides as well. Now, I think with a significant amount of Europe banning or requiring labeling, I think we should at least look into the requiring of labeling. Do your own research, but I also think we need to let our legislative bodies know and our representatives know in government that these are the kinds of things we need to look into and want to do. Now, the darker areas on here are the places where GMOs have been banned or require labeling. That's a significant amount of Europe. So questions have been raised. Behind me on the wall, there are pictures of rats with big, huge tumors that have been fed GMO soy and other corns and things. There were a study in Russia that was done where mother rats were given the GMO soy, and 50% of their babies did not live 3 months. The ones that did could not reproduce. We do have choices, however. There are companies out there that do not use genetically modified foods, and there are lists and scabs of them on websites. Also, the companies that do. Look for the ones that are Monsanto subsidiaries, which unfortunately are Kellogg and Nestle and a few others that were, companies. I grew up eating those products, and I fed them to my kids. Also with the produce in the stores, you can look at the little stickers that have the little numbers on them, the labels, for their coding. Conventionally grown produce has a 4-digit code starting with 4. Organic is a 5-digit code starting with 9. And genetically modified foods have a 5-digit code starting with 8. So you do have alternatives if you want to try to do some research on your own. Plenty of information out there. I hope you do. And thank you for listening to my presentation.